So we just had a Runebound Saturday. We played two excellent, amazing games of Runebound, both second edition and third edition. From a rules perspective, I wanted to kind of jump in because I was curious to see the perspective of one of my friends who's a longtime board game player, back to back, what they thought of both games. So I'm going to be talking about Runebound second and third edition in this vlog, but I'm using it to highlight two different game mechanics that are in play. Game mechanics that might affect answering this question, the eternal board gaming question. You love the board game. You're in. You're going to add it to your collection. But then you always wonder, am I going to get enough plays out of this game? Or you're thinking about, I'm going to the gaming club or my friend's house, or I'm just going to pull out a title. Being able to match titles in your collection, not only with the tastes of the players, but based on the constraints. It could be size constraints. It could be time constraints. Understanding those rules match those different things. When I play Talisman, I like to play it with all of the expansions. I like everything in play. And if you're familiar with Talisman, all of the expansions add to this board and cards. It's huge. It's a in a good way. It's a crazy mess. We were set to play Talisman at the comic shop, and it was like a Thursday evening D&D night. Not a ton of people there. I don't know. Everyone was there. Maybe it was campaign night. Maybe it was like a Living Greyhawk type thing. Everyone was there. The table space we had to play was very, very small. We could only play core Talisman, the board. So this idea, there's a lot of factors that affect the game that you want to match up, to be aware of them. So Talisman second and third edition. One of the mechanics in Talisman second edition is you're fighting against the Dragon Lords. You're questing, you're gaining gear, you're gaining allies. There is no definitive time mechanic. The first player to defeat the Dragon Lords or to defeat Margrath wins, but there's no timer set on it. So there tends to be, and we'll put aside for a second, is this a good or bad thing? There tends to be a little bit of grinding. You're going on quests, you're optimizing your gear, you're looking what's in the purchase deck, what's available. The game can play very, very long. You can decide, okay, based on the odds and the other players, I could take on the end game right now, or I could go another 10 turns and super gear up. If you love optimizing and unlocking and building powerful characters, that's the path. There is no fixed set timer for the game. There is an alternate timer where the cities start being destroyed, putting that aside for a second. Base game, that's how it plays. Now when we get to third edition Runebound, we find on the left side of the board a timer. So now after all the players have completed a turn, the token gets advanced a turn. It sometimes refreshes quests. It sometimes pulls out a story card that ties into the narrative that gives some new quests or some new encounters. But essentially, it goes through once, Act 1, goes through twice, Act 2, and then the end game is revealed, where you have to fight the boss monster. You have no choice. You have to fight or die. So hopefully you're geared up. Hopefully you're optimal. The advantage and disadvantage of this is there is no grinding. You have to look at what is available in this moment, make those decisions where you're going to go, and from a puzzle perspective, try to map out what is going to be best. Then you go into the end game as you go. The advantage here is it plays much, much faster. You're sitting down, a relaxed game, 2 to 3 players, 4 players, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And that's where you're reading the story cards and doing the voice thing and spending a few moments to think about optimal moves and go on quests. The game fits within that time window, where Runebound second edition, that's open to everything, like that's, I won't say it's like Twilight Imperium time or Descent first edition, but it can potentially take a while, especially if you're playing with multiple players. So within that framework, my friend tended to prefer second edition because you could grind and optimize. He's got a little bit of that Euro type of play in his blood. I like both for what they are, but I say that because generally speaking, titles in your collection that are on a timer where you have to complete the game in X number of rounds, they play better for larger audiences or fixed time. You're at the gaming club, you're at the store, you've got 3 or 4 hours to play. You know you're going to finish the game. One of the things that's important to me when I pick a title, I want to finish the game. I want to try and win, whether it's co-op or one versus many or many versus an overlord. I want to have a conclusion to the game, whether that's bragging rights, glory points, whatever it's going to be. If a board game isn't completed, yeah, we can say who won or maybe what will going to happen, but we don't really know, do we? We want to know. So within that framework, finishing it out. If it's any type of environment where we're on a set time, even if that time seems really long, then I bring something that has that timer. If it's an open type game or we've all agreed ahead of time, like, yeah, we're going to hang out and play this, then I can bring a longer type game to play. So I say that within your framework. If you're looking to acquire a new title for your collection, that is one of the questions that I ask myself based in the rules. Is this an open grind, no time frame? Or is there a set time frame to make it happen and to see what happens?